Well, people are gonna talk about this episode in years to come, and they're all just gonna say how much of a trash it is. And I'm just gonna slap my face and say, oh, so you're not gonna talk about how trash it was for Gon to get grown-up power? How trashy it was for him to just turn so utterly selfish? How trash it was for Obito to turn out who he really was? How trash it was for suddenly a new world out there in Attack on Titans? How trash it was for a hero to become a villain? In the end, you're all just gonna complain about the one thing that makes sense, and that is sometimes a villain is too powerful to defeat. And the only way a villain can defeat himself is himself. You don't have to like it. Scratch that. You will never like it. But it's the only way! So I don't understand why people have to complain about this episode in the Fairy Tail episode 42 of 2018. The final series. In case anybody do not know, they actually had made a photo showing that they recorded the last of the stuff in May. A farewell photo, huh? Well, Fairy Tail is one of the few shows that actually has come to an end, or slowly is coming to an end. Many did, but many create spin-offs, although technically in the manga way they had created a sequel, but only time will tell if they decide to animate that. So far they haven't, and so far this is the final one of the mangas one, so people should shut up and stop complaining. Doesn't mean that this episode is the utmost great, but it's not bad because of that reason that people are complaining about. And what are they complaining about? Well, the easiest thing to say that August wasn't defeated by, Gildartsu. In fact, August was preparing to kill himself in a special kind of magic bomb that would have killed everyone in it. But there was one thing that stopped him. Someone stopped him, although unintentionally. As he wonders why he was never loved, he suddenly saw his mother, Mavis. Once upon a time, he said that the only one who can stop his majesty's child is perhaps his mother. And in the end, even though he never knew his mother, Augusto cannot bring to kill herself too. So he contains the explosional magic he's about to unleash. And therefore his body cannot handle it himself. So he dies, never ever getting to tell his parents that he existed. Never ever getting his one wish clear, to having been held by his mother. And people do not have the right to mock that. That is actually a tragic villain. You can all but say that there are better written characters. And there are, but I'm just saying that just because a villain sometimes is better written, like for example from that hero manga, then that doesn't mean I will like them! So what is my point about Augusto? Well, Augusto was in the end just an architecture for someone who we thought was something, but in the end was a tragic figure. So unlike other villains, who people like because they have an excuse despite the fact that they're pure evil, Augusto wasn't pure evil. He just had no love in his life. And he turned that into what he thought was the only thing he could do. And in the end he realized he couldn't kill his mother. So I see no reason why people have to complain about that. And the music that plays in that situation is kind of tragic, but it makes sense in itself. Mavis meets up with Gray, Happy and Lucy and gives them the Book of END, which is Natsu's life force. As Natsu keeps on fighting with Zereth, he keeps telling him that there is better ways for his life to have ended up. And for the first time ever calling him brother, showing that Natsu is also maturing. Back on this other side, Acnologia appeared back on the battlefield and started to massacring or disgracing the the corpse of Irene. Ersa, of course, do not like that and tells him to stop. But as soon as Acnologia sees Wendy, he is prepared to slay her. But Jalal appears and tries to attack Acnologia with his most powerful spell, all which have no effect, revealing that The reason why Acnologia is so indestructible is simply because his power is that of indestructibility. He devours magic, no element, he is just a magic devouring dragon, which is why no one has been able to defeat him. He absorbs it. In a way, I guess that makes sense on why he's been so undefeatable, but I just have a feeling like when he will be defeated, because he will be, people are not gonna stop complaining. Because in the end, an undefeated villain has to die so very well. Do people never realize that more undefeated a villain is, the more their defeat are gonna be obnoxious? I never understand people's eyes. So when they prepares to fight Acnologia, even though she is scared, I have to say when they cry out, now Elsa cry out there in despair, that is really there. But then suddenly the flying ship belonging to Blue Pegasus managed to knock Acnologia aside as Ichiga tells the mother to get inside. Inside we see a familiar face, a face that may have belonged to an ancestor to Lucy, Anna Hartophilia, perhaps. So this is basically this episode. The reason why I'm complaining is that I know a lot of people are not gonna like this episode, and I know a lot of people are gonna complain. Perhaps no one is going to comment on my page, maybe because they're just going to call me stupid, or maybe they're just going to say that it's not even worth their time to comment on just about things. But as the blind, I say to people, there are some who are very blind to their fanning of Hunter x Hunter, so at least let me be blind to fairy tale thing. The one thing that there are some situations there that make sense, you know. A villain can be tragic, but he doesn't necessarily have to be ultimate evil. I just have met a villain that is tragic, but he is ultimate evil, and I see no reason why people are sympathizing with him. Augusto is a worth man to be sympathizing with. He just had nothing, and yet he chose to do something because he felt it was the only way he could do. It's way different than that villain. Acnologia devouring magic also makes sense, because in the end, it makes sure that it shows just how much of an unbreakable guy he truly is. Although there are some situations here where you actually question, is this really the right thing? And that is the fact that why is it that Acnologia could devour souls? But I guess it makes me because magic could hurt their souls of dragons. Acnologia is an example of a villain people do not really like that much. I mean, he's not written to be likable, but he's only written to be a natural disaster. I have seen a villain like that before, and what did people do? They didn't complain a single bit when they saw that kind of villain, and I got pissed off by that. He's no different from Acnologia. So it's just that the thing is that he is meant to be an embodiment of evil and destruction. No reason, not even any good reason, no likability. He is just there. So this is basically this episode. All in all, though, I can admit it wasn't the flashiest. But it is what it is. I know how fairy tale is written. So give me your thoughts, if you have any.